I'm Cameron Flatt, this is Davis, and this is Everyone's a Critic Extended Edition. Today we are discussing Hacksaw Ridge, which is nominated for plenty of Oscars this year, including Best Picture. Davis, initial reaction to the film?
So I'll admit, coming in, I'm not a Mel Gibson fan. Let me just say that straight up. Just not a huge fan of his, personally. But I try to put all of that aside when I watch this. And I'll admit, my initial reaction was it surprised me. It really did. It was a very clean movie. What would you have said?
See, coming in, I can totally agree on him as a person, but I just recently, within the last year, watched Braveheart for the first time, which he starred and directed in. Blew my mind. Fantastic piece of fiction. Very fictional, over the top.
Yeah.
This movie is very similar, except for it's based on a real movie. So I'm still kind of iffy on whether a feeling heavily fictionalized version of a real life event, at least stylistically, was the right choice.
I would say it was. I know it was based on a true story, but I think that they used that word "based" very. They took liberties with using that word because there's some heavy symbolism going on there.
Yeah.
Like I think, for instance, and just fair warning, there will be spoilers to our audience at home, of course, as we're talking in depth about this film. When Desmond hits his brother with the brick at the beginning of the film and thinks he almost killed him, and he's staring at that picture of the Ten Commandments, and it's like, I don't think Desmond like stared at the Ten Commandments for 30 minutes while his mom's like, what are they doing? You know, like I think like maybe in Desmond, the actual Desmond Dawes' mind, yeah, he probably looked at that for what seemed like an eternity. But, and also one of my biggest aggravations with the film was it kind of tried to spoon feed me a little bit too much.
Yeah.
Did you get that feeling with some of the Christian symbolism was a little bit too on point? Almost like I was like, I get it, and then it just kind of hung in there for longer than it needed to be, which is okay. The symbolism itself was nice, but some of it was just too in your face.
Yeah, I feel like this movie almost reflects the film Full Metal Jacket in a way that you have a very distinct difference between the first half and the second half. First half is developing our character. The second half is the actual war part. And as far as the faith base of our main character, which I was very interested in, being a Christian myself, I was like, is this big Hollywood film going to properly reflect how I see modern Christianity? And I would say the opening, it's very heavy-handed, a little over the top. Second part, I actually thought it was done quite nicely because it's very important to our main character, but nothing ridiculously supernatural happens. It's more his motivation, and there's a part where he gets shot, but it's off the top of his helmet, and that's believable because it's a helmet. It gets off the top. I believe that, but that could also be an act of God. So like I think there's almost two different movies going on here.
Yeah, and I guess my point is, it's just some of the times it's a little bit too, like, there's even crosses in the wallpaper in that scene, you know what I mean? And like, and then when he's like, it seems like he's almost floating off to heaven at the end when they carry him out when he's injured. At that point I was like, all right, we're laying on a little bit thick. Like, I got that he was floating, and at first I was like, oh, that's so sweet, but then it kept going. And then his hand flops down, and it's just going up into the sun. You're like, okay, you took me out of the film. Like, occasionally take me out of the film. There was one instance, though, that I thought was extremely subtle, and it showed skill in directing. I don't know if you saw it. I believe it was why he was being tried in the courtroom, where the way they did the lighting on him, they put the light behind him, and it made it like almost like a halo around his head.
I didn't catch that.
And it kind of gave him like an angelic look at that moment. I thought that was some very subtle, symbolic kind of Christian theme there. And I didn't mind the Christian themes. It wasn't heavily in your face, because that's just who the man was, and it played into the plot. It wasn't just a propaganda Christian movie. You know what I mean? It was, this man was a conscientious objector who fought in World War II, like, and survived. Not only that, and saved that many men. Like, his religion played a big factor into why that was incredible. He didn't carry a rifle into battle. Yeah.
So the big question right now would be the primary Oscar that this film is nominated for is Best Picture. Do you think it deserves the nomination?
That's where I'm kind of struggling, because you have to look at the field. And so I looked at the field and I said, is this one of the best of this year? And I looked at all the parts of it, every single dynamic that goes in the film, and I do think it belongs. I really do think it does, because I think Gibson does a good job of using film as the main driving point. It wasn't just a really good screenplay that just happened to have a camera involved. I'm looking at you, Fences. Fences is a great film, great cast, but it's a play.
Yeah.
You know, it's a play with the camera. There's real cinematic moments to it that I thought were just absolutely stunning. I have to ask, the opening, when they first crawl up to Hacksaw Ridge and there's that fog, what did you think of that scene?
That actually is, yeah, like it definitely builds a sense of dread, suspense. I feel like it almost ruins it when the character pops up and starts screaming. It was almost comical, like in a really horrible way. And then that's when the movie dives deep first into kind of one of the main points people are talking about is the extreme gore. But before that, great suspense. You don't know what's going to happen. You don't know where the Japanese are. That is actually really great build up. Yeah,
I saw this and I said, this is where Mel Gibson shines. That's why I thought this is kind of where he makes his money. You know, I saw this and I said, oh my gosh. It made sense. That's when it clicked. I was waiting for that moment that separated it and made it a Best Picture standout rather than, I forget the name of it, but last year, you remember that Angelina Jolie movie where the guy
Unbroken.
had like Unbroken? I was trying to see what separated it from Unbroken, and that scene right there is what really drew the contrast.
There is a lot of parallels between those movies in the conversation. Most people bring up Unbroken. For me, 2016 was not a super strong year for movies being overall really good. A lot of the best movies were really good at one specific thing, and in that case, I would agree it deserves Best Picture because it was really good at our main character and at depicting war, even if it was very cinematic and you know, fictionalized, at least feeling. It may be realistic. I don't know. I was not there, but to me, watching the movie, it feels over the top. But it was very well done. It was very believable. I was cringing and pulling back the entire war scenes because these people were being blown apart, but it was very convincing. So I would say, yeah, it probably deserves it too.
So I want to ask you, because another award it got nominated for was Best Director. Do you think it was deserving of Best Director? Now, Mel Gibson.
Best Director is a tough part to pin down because a director has so many jobs, and you don't know if something is his fault or if it isn't. And I would say if he had a hand in casting this movie, I would say no because I just feel like there's a lot of strange casting choices. And just people that didn't quite fit into their roles.
Hugo Weaving, maybe? I was like, oh my God, he's in here.
Yeah, and he does, the character does do a little bit better towards the ending when he kind of mellows out and it's not so angry, but it's still a strange choice. And Vince Vaughn and Sam Worthington, and they do better jobs than they normally do. But it's just, that was one thing that kind of took me out of the movie was all these famous names that don't quite fit their parts.
Yeah, and to me, I guess what it came down to, and why I also don't believe he deserved the nomination for Best Director. And what it simply came down to at the end of the day was I look at his filmography, what he's done, I don't see any growth there. Do you know what I mean? I don't see how this was better than Passion of the Christ. How is this better than Braveheart, as you brought up earlier? I don't think Mel Gibson is trying anything new in authorship. I mean, he clearly has a style, but it's not like an auteurist style. You know what I mean? It's just one aspect of his films. He's not good at a particular genre. He's very good at battle scenes, but that's not a genre. And to me, I don't think he does enough to really say, man, he directed the crap out of that movie. To me, I feel like when Andrew Garfield talks about who do you enjoy working with more, he'd probably say Martin Scorsese. I feel like Scorsese would have gotten more out of Andrew because he was in both their movies this year. I don't think Mel Gibson, I don't think he did enough to really earn something there.
Yeah, I like that point a lot about growth because I know he's been out of it for quite a while making movies, but I just felt like there was just parts here, how shots were designed, lighting in some parts, and just the flow of the movie almost felt amateurish. Like there were parts that just felt like someone that hadn't made a movie before. And he's been around, he's been making movies, involved in movies for like 30 years.
There was some very outdated cinema techniques going on there. I mean, some of his stunts were very obviously stunts. They felt like they were from the 90s. Some of his effects, the jets flying over at one point when they were seeing the fort, they looked like they came out of like a 90s animation software. It was
absolutely
some of the graphics, some of the stunts were a little bit cringeworthy at times, and I feel like that falls on Mel at that point. I want to ask you about one part I thought particularly was actually really great, the sound, both editing and mixing. What did you think of the sound?
Yeah, that's something I'm not horribly inclined to notice. So if I didn't really think about it a lot, so I would say it's probably pretty good. You know, it's because bad sound I definitely notice. It definitely pulls me out of the movie when sounds don't line up. You know, war is definitely a famous genre for having really good sound editing, like requiring really good sound editing, sound mixing. So I don't have a super strong opinion on it. I would say it's pretty good. Nothing super noticeably good or bad.
Yeah, I wouldn't have noticed it if full personal story here. I just got a new sound bar for my TV.
Yeah.
Because you know I'm a big stickler for it sounding clear. Now this is one of the first movies I got to watch on it, and I was watching it, and the dialogue is quiet, but it's not too quiet. You know, so that was good mixing to me because the dialogue isn't right up there with the action. You know, you can only hear them if it's quiet as well. You can't hear him talking if there's bombardments going on. You know, I felt that was accurate. But when I could tell that the sound was really good is when Hacksaw Ridge the Navy first starts piling in on Hacksaw Ridge. It literally vibrated my sound bar. That's how just intense it was. That's how much he like devoted to the base of that missile. That was, if you were in surround sound, it would have vibrated the theater, I feel like. 'Cause I did not get to see this in theater, I will admit.
One thing I would say though that I'm now remembering, a pivotal moment in the movie that's really early on is when our main character hits his brother with the brick. The sound effect did not sound like a brick hitting a kid's face. And that's a very important scene. It's a small thing, but that scene is so important to like our character's motivation that you don't want to take me out of that scene with a bad sound effect. Like you don't even really need a very strong sound effect, a very muffled hit. So that I would say that would just be one criticism that I have.
Yeah, I don't think it was perfect, but like you said, with war movies are generally pretty good with their sound mixing and their sound editing. I think it didn't underperform for sure. So I think if you're performing well, you're going to get a nomination. If you do a war movie and you perform correctly, you're going to get the nomination for it.
Pretty much.
Do I think it's going to beat out some of the competition? Probably not.
Yeah, La La Land with all of its music probably.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Did Rogue One get nominated for sound mixing as well?
I'm not sure.
The Star Wars movies typically get nominated for that, so I feel like it may have.
Okay, so then another big piece, something I very much enjoyed in the movie is Andrew Garfield. Best Picture, Best Actor nomination. What do you think?
I didn't know Andrew Garfield could sound Southern.
I know,
really did. I was like, whoa, he's a little bit of a hick all of a sudden. And that really impressed me that he did kind of take on a different character. And I've always been a fan of Andrew Garfield. I think occasionally he falls into comfortabilities where he kind of, you know, he does the same kind of expression. I see in his Social Network and then it transferred to Spider-Man. I felt like I was just watching his Social Network character in Spider-Man at times. Like he has a default character that he'll fall back into.
Oh yeah.
But here I really thought he was playing Desmond. And I think something that helped is we got to see Desmond at the end of the movie, the real Desmond. And that kind of, the way he talked and his general characteristics really did mimic Andrew Garfield really mimicked Desmond. And so I really think he brought that character to life.
Yeah, absolutely. For me, this 2016 has been somewhat of a lower year. Just nothing's really grabbed me, and that goes for acting too. I haven't seen all the Best Picture nominations yet. There might be something waiting for me that'll be a nice surprise. But as far as acting, nothing has been amazing. But I do feel Andrew Garfield deserves a nomination because he did a good job, very convincing. Very, you know, he embodies that sweet, you know, the moments when he's talking about the girl. You know, he embodies. This is what he should have been doing in Spider-Man. He's stumbling over himself. He's geeky. But he's really charming and he's sweet. You just want to love him on him. And
I will say the screenwriting was very weak for this, in my opinion. It didn't feel realistic at times. Vince Vaughn tried to do his best Full Metal Jacket impression, and it just fell flat. It was awkward at times. You know, I see what I guess it's because I was comparing it. Maybe it wasn't meant to be compared. But I feel like Andrew Garfield took that script and he gave character to the words. Like I felt like it was very believable. And you talk about the category and looking at who he's up against. I mean, dude, he's up against Denzel. And I don't know if you've seen Fences. I've seen Fences. Denzel Washington does not carry that movie because Viola Davis is also terrific. That cast in general is terrific. But just wow. Real quickly, film editing.
Excellent.
I think they're covering a few mistakes here and there, but generally very smooth. So we're gonna wrap it up, right? So just real quickly, do you think it's gonna win Best Picture? and your rating out of 10.
Yeah. I see it being one of those movies like Boyhood that was a good movie, but nominated for a bunch of ones, but probably doesn't win very many. Maybe some of the technical stuff. Overall, I'm still deciding what I really think about this movie. As general, for right now, it's a question mark out of 10.
All right, question mark out of 10. I would agree that it's gonna. I feel like it's getting nominated for a lot of them, but it's not necessarily gonna win. I don't think it was as good as Boyhood. I mean, that was a very competitive year, but in the same sense that it's not gonna win a lot. If I had to give it a ranking, I'd probably say 8.1 out of 10. I give it a low B for sure.
All right, well, thanks so much for watching today. Really appreciate it. Stay tuned for the rest of the films nominated for Best Picture this year. See you later.